mean, if you look at the history of refugee resettlement, beginning after World War II, right, when, survivors of the Holocaust, they were the first peoples really who were fleeing over here, and that's what really kind of spurred a lot of, the actions taken by the United Nations, UNHCR specifically, and then eventually what would kind of lead to the Refugee Resettlement Act of 1980 here in the United States, really following the Vietnam War. So you saw these various groups of very diverse peoples who all had one thing in common, that they were escaping some sort of conflict that was infringing on their ability to not just live a healthy, happy life of dignity, but to survive, right? They were being persecuted in some way or some form. And I think, specifically, it's funny because I've been working at ICE for 3 years. And it's only really been as of recently, with the context of this presidential election cycle, that we started to really hear about refugees. And I think that that's specifically tied to the fact that the current crisis that we're talking about most specifically is that of Syria, and these individuals are Muslim. I'll be honest, that's my opinion of it in this post 9/11 world, that's the reason why all of a sudden it's becoming so polemic. And so I think, first of all, a big misconception is it's the fact that those individuals are terrorists, which is ridiculous because they're fleeing terrorism, right? In addition to other issues that surround why they're leaving in the first place, but certainly, and it's the same situation in Somalia as well. And then in other countries where our students are from, is that they're actually escaping violence from the same sort of groups that we fear here in the United States. So that's a big misconception. And then secondly, that they're all Muslim. We see, refugee populations coming from Burma, coming from Bhutan as well, many of whom are living in Nepal. We see people who are also Christians in Egypt, for example, who are coming over here for similar reasons. While many of them don't actually have official refugee status, we see a lot of folks seeking political asylum from El Salvador because of an increase in recruitment among gangs there. So it's a variety of different reasons why people are coming here, again, with that one idea in common, that they are seeking safety, right? So that's another thing, is that it is a very heterogeneous group of peoples with different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different races, different religions. And then another big misconception that I do feel is important that's important to clear up, is that when it comes back to that level of education, previous education experience, while some folks certainly do grow up in camps and maybe have had disrupted experiences with formal schooling, we also see a great number of people who come as doctors and pharmacists and engineers, and were professors at universities, and who have a wealth of skills and knowledge to contribute, which goes into the other thing. The last misconception is that from an economic perspective, this is a good economic investment for our community as well. When you see the amount of money that these communities contribute just at the state level, within Tennessee specifically, it's exorbitantly higher than the amount of money that's actually being invested into them and providing them services. And certainly when we think of social services and benefits as well, it's within a very short period of time that the vast majority of them actually no longer continue to seek those types of services from the government and become self-sufficient at a really very quick rate, And I think in part it's because these are among the most resilient peoples that I have seen. If this is something that resonates with you, if the plight of this community, these peoples, anything that you saw today, if this is something that has left an impact, then I would say that the best way for you to get a part or to become a part of all of this is really to volunteer. And there are a number of organizations with whom you can volunteer, and certainly in different capacities. I know that at NICE we have a youth education program, obviously adult education, what we do, health, immigration, resettlement, advocacy, if that's something you're interested in, then of course certainly Turk will be a wonderful resource that you can reach out to. But money is great, and as a nonprofit, I'm not going to say don't send us money. However, the most, I think, rewarding thing about the work that I've been doing has really been working alongside volunteers who do feel calling to work with this population group for whatever reason, because they're interested in other cultures or languages, or because this is politically reflective of their own ideology and their worldview and they want to help. And that experience of working directly with them once a week for just 2 hours a week, but they go up and they show up to that classroom and they're like an ambassador of Nashville. You know what I mean? And that direct connection that they've made and relationship that they make with their students on a weekly basis, it's very evident that it's invaluable to all parties involved, and it's incredibly meaningful, and it's been really meaningful to watch other people get this reward out of this experience too. So I would certainly encourage anyone to reach out either to NICE or to Turk, to other organizations that you can get connected to, and I think that's really the best way to make a significant impact in a really intimate way within your own community.